Equanimous St. Brown. Equanimous St. Brown. Equanimous St. Brown. What do you think the over-under is on the number of times I can say Packers receiver Equanimous St. Brown before it stops being fun? Equanimous St. Brown. Equanimous St. Brown. Okay, it's six. 6 times before it stops being fun. Like watching the Patriots now. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and welcome to a special feast mode edition of Odd Man Sports. I'm your host, Brandon Perna. I'm also the host of That's Good Sports. Think of these two shows like pecan and pumpkin pie. Some prefer one, some prefer the other. But the thing we can all agree on, you never want to have Thanksgiving with Jason Biggs. Some people will even debate whether it's pecan or pecan. Anyway, week 11 of the NFL slate is in the rear view, and the playoffs are closer than they appear. Except for the Jets, who were the first team officially, mathematically, eliminated. But would still only be 3 games back in the NFC East. The Steelers are still undefeated after a win over the Jaguars, but more importantly, the Patriots are not going to the playoffs. It's almost like it's real. Did you see Chase Claypool and Deontay Johnson celebrating a touchdown by singing Happy Birthday to Juju Smith-Schuster? I remember back in 2018, Juju celebrating a touchdown catch by pretending to give birth to a football. This guy's really into birthdays. So in keeping with the birth theme, the Steelers will be cutting the cord with Juju after the season now that he's the highest paid but third best receiver on the team. But that's better than staying with Pittsburgh and having to get a circumcision like Claypool is going to have to do. Speaking of the miracles of childbirth, Cam Newton, with this pregame look, fit of shorts and suspenders, appears to be doing his best to stop women from ovulating, a task usually reserved for offensive linemen. It feels like we're about 3 weeks away from Cam arriving onto a frozen cold Foxborough field dressed like this. Followed by a segment in which Colin Cowherd explains why he prefers quarterbacks who don't wear mankinis and don't dance and aren't other things that Cam is. Cam Keeney already trademarked that shit. Now, being out of the playoff picture doesn't stop the 4-6 Patriots from making devious roster moves. On November 10th, Bill Belichick signed Jordan Thomas, which was surely because of their interest in a player nobody's ever heard of, and not because his previous 2 teams, the Texans and the Cardinals, just happened to be the next 2 teams up on their schedule, which isn't against the rules, though it might just provoke football fans to, Photoshop you in a mankini. That's just self-defense, Your Honor. Chargers quarterback Justin fully loaded Herbert led all passers this week with 366 yards in a win, but not a cover over the Jets. Herbert has had at least 3 passing touchdowns in 5 games this season, the most by any rookie in NFL history, and his decision to transform from Johnny Utah to Johnny Unitas seems to be working out just fine. And just like Patrick Swayze in Point Break, the Chargers may be his best friend, but a relationship with them will only put his career in jeopardy. And now that Captain Joe Burrow is out for the season, Herbert is the leader in the clubhouse for Offensive Rookie of the Year. It feels like after that Kyle Allen injury, though, and now with Joe Burrow, Alex Smith is basically the girl in It Follows. And next week's opponent, Andy Dalton, better be careful. The real question may be how quickly will the Bengals implode without Joe Burrow? They've won just 4 of their first 26 games under head coach Zach Taylor, and now there are whispers that he's losing the locker room. Those whispers are ASMR to Marvin Lewis, whose hair is standing up on the back of his neck knowing Mike Brown is this close to bringing him back. This close. In the game of the week, the Chefs beat the Raiders to secure a 3-game lead in the AFC West and remind us of a couple things. 1, even when Derek Carr plays a perfect game, the Chiefs can fuck it up in 90 seconds flat. And 2, Andy Reid is not a piece of meat. After the game-winning touchdown, Travis Kelce rubbed Reid like a Wagyu cow. And during the post-game handshake, Gruden rubbed him like a pot-bellied pig. Now, I know they're all getting hungry for Thanksgiving dinner, and if you put an apple in his mouth, he might look pretty appetizing, but Andy is not on the menu. Instead, NFL ball catchers, take note. If you want more targets, do not yell at your quarterback. Go to the source of the play calls and touch him in ways his wife will not. Kelce is literally first in every statistical category for tight ends this season, and it's because he keeps Andy Reid looser than the team's stance on player discipline. Moving on to the Dallas Cowboys, Mike McCarthy had his players smash watermelons to motivate them before the Vikings game. Imagine if Mike McCarthy did that when Dak was still healthy. As someone who enjoys comedy, though, from the 21st century, it makes me sick to think that the last stand-up comedian Mike McCarthy watched was Gallagher. Probably explains why his playbook is so dated, though. Mike McCarthy is sort of the Jeff Dunham of head coaches, in that none of his peers really respect him, and he was really just Aaron Rodgers' puppet the whole time. And the Cleveland Browns beat the Philly Eagles to move on to 7-3. Think that's their best record in 1 million years. And after the game, Cleveland guard Joel Bitonio said, "It's that top-down approach. Everyone's on the same page in that aspect. And then I think we have a game plan. Like, it's not one side of the ball, but we take the ball away, create turnovers, and we run to win. And that's kind of what our motto is." Really great, long-winded motto, Joel. That should fit on a t-shirt. A really large shirt. And sorry, Tompa Tom, but I've already got that trademarked along with Cam Keeney. Money Talks. That's the segment where I put my money where my mouth is, otherwise known as the quickest way to test positive for COVID. Now, did any of you see this? Did you hear about this? NL Cy Young winner Trevor Bauer challenged Yasiel Puig to a throwing contest this week. Maybe try flying a drone without mangling yourself challenge. But that got me thinking. There we go. Who would I want to see in an NFL throwing contest? Patty Mahomes and Josh Allen? No. Kyler Murray and Aaron Rodgers? No, you're talking to the king of zings. Me. I am hereby officially requesting a toss-off between Phillip Rivers and old man Breeze. Once Breeze can breathe without 11 Toradol shots again. I would pay good money to watch those two noodle arms square off and hit 30-yard bombs against one another. Chad Pennington can be the master of ceremonies. Comment below on who you're taking in this dead-arm duel that will never happen. And finally, Odd Man Out, the segment where I normally provide answers. But on this holy day, as we gather round the table, I'm going to ask some questions. Very tough questions, like, did we talk about how underrated stuffing was so much that it's weirdly now actually overrated? It's basically the Mike Evans of side dishes. And are the New England Patriots allowed to play Washington on Thanksgiving now that the football team has changed their name? And who designed this week's Texans cheerleader outfits? What the hell do they need all of those pockets for? Turducken? And who exactly are they cheering for in that stadium? Although as a man yelling into a camera alone in his basement, I'm in no place to judge. And finally, the big question, why? Why are the Lions playing on Thanksgiving again? This year, like every year since 1934, the Detroit Lions will host a Thanksgiving game. This is, hands down, the worst tradition in sports, surpassing when I make my wife rewatch Super Bowl 32 in John Elway's helicopter spin every time the Broncos lose. Even I'm getting tired of reliving that victorious moment. Why are we showcasing one of the worst teams in the league when the most fans are watching? Nay, when the most fans need an escape from their annoying family. Does Martha Ford have naked pictures of Roger Goodell? I bet you do, you sassy sunglass-wearing nutcracker. The NBA stacks its Christmas lineup with the best teams, the hottest players, and the pettiest feuds. What they don't do is say, it's Christmas. And you know what that means? The Pistons in prime time on ABC. Just because something's old doesn't mean you have to keep doing it. Although, I know Martha Ford would disagree, wouldn't you, you sassy beast? In the 90s, the Lions on Thanksgiving was at least an opportunity to see Barry Sanders run circles around the opposition in a losing effort. Then in the 2000s, it was a chance to see Megatron mossing shrimp DBs in a losing effort. All we have to look forward to now is the possibility of Matt Patricia stabbing someone with his pencil? I don't know, but the Lions sucked the life out of both Barry and Megatron so much that they decided to retire at 30 rather than continue playing for this sad franchise. How bad have the Lions been throughout history? Their winningest coach of all time, Wayne Fontes, has a losing record. The last time the Lions won a playoff game, George Bush was president. No, his dad, Senior. The H stood for holy shit, the Lions just beat the Cowboys in the playoffs. For this week's game, the Lions are coming off a shutout loss to the Panthers, a team that almost gave up a 50-burger 2 weeks ago to the Bucks, and they're playing the 3-7 Texans. Our government wants us to stay inside, but they're giving us this game to watch? Not very convincing, government. But there is hope. 2020 sucked, but it has served as a pause button. People are recalibrating their lives. Look around. What was I saying? Look around you, we finally did it. We broke the tradition of having family over for Thanksgiving. If we can break that tradition, surely we can end the Thanksgiving Lions game too. And that's it for today. Well, that's it. I've got nothing more to say. Thought I said everything I needed to say. Oh, maybe subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe here to the Game Day. Do it.